This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our meeting. We'll take the roll call, and everyone is present this evening. And we'll now take a moment for reflection and respect, please. Thank you. Confirmation of agenda, please.
That Council adopts the agenda for the meeting of November 16th, 2020 as presented.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Barber, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Okay, seeing none, we'll move into delegations and public meetings. It's my pleasure to introduce Julie Gagnon, the CAO of Elgin County, and Warden Dave Mennel. They are here this evening to give us an update about our service delivery review, and they're going to overview that delivery review for us. So welcome, and I see the presentation is up, so whoever's going to start first.
Okay, thank you, Mary, and good evening once again to Aylmer Council. I want to thank you for inviting the County of Elgin to your meeting tonight to provide an update about county activities and let Aylmer know about some of the exciting projects that are underway. I want to start off by congratulating Mayor French and your council on how well you handled a very difficult situation with the Freedom March. I believe you are right in your decisions, and we're very professional in your approach. So we're always backing our neighbors up, and certainly a very difficult time this past week, but congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
We value our close working relationship with our local municipal partners and are happy to partner with Aylmer on a number of joint programs and services we provide to the residents of our communities. Our open communications is important, and we're pleased to be able to share what was going on in Elgin with you tonight. Council has just completed a strategic planning exercise, which has established clear goals and priorities, which will guide the actions of County Council until the end of the current term, 2022. These goals and priorities have been developed to be responsive to the needs of our residents and partners and will guide actions and resources allocations moving forward. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a challenge for all municipalities in Ontario and is no different in Elgin County. I am very proud and how council and staff have been able to pivot quickly to continue providing services to all our residents in a safe and responsive manner. I'm even more pleased at the way in which Elgin County's local municipal partners and the city have worked closely to ensure a consistent response to rapidly changing provincial regulations and circumstances across the province. Despite the pandemic, Elgin County has been able to accomplish a great deal so far in 2020. We've invested significantly in our infrastructure, and committees actively in the county level has increased significantly, with a new committee taking on increased workload to address community concerns and move projects forward. Finally, the service delivery review process began in February of 2020. After the County of Elgin received funding from the Municipal Modernization Fund to begin a comprehensive review of the service of the County of Elgin and a manner in which we provide them. The goal of the review was to determine where and how we can provide our service more efficiently and effectively, and how we can partner with Elgin's local municipalities and neighboring communities to provide service that are efficient and seamless for our residents. From this review, consultants have identified 110 unique internal shared service improvements for the County of Elgin that had amounted to over $3 million in saving over a multi-year time frame. I'll now turn the presentation over to our Chief Administrative Officer, Julie Gagnon, who will discuss each of these initiatives in more detail. Julie?
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council, it's a pleasure to be here again this year to provide you with an update. And I'll just ask Josh to skip ahead one more slide to the strategic planning slide. So in 2019, Elgin County Council embarked on a strategic planning process. And the purpose of this process was to identify strategic priorities and associated actionable items that will guide council over the next 2 years. As well, this process will create a coordinated vision that will design and shape how our communities look and feel over the next decade. So public, stakeholder, and council feedback were gathered into 3 overarching main goals: serving Elgin to redesign how we respond to community needs in a creative and sustainable way; growing Elgin, we want to continue to be the place where people want to live, work, and play; and investing in Elgin, which is to make responsible financial decisions. So the next slide includes council's strategic plan video, and this is a promotional video that summarizes council's plan. It's about 9 minutes in length, but it's well worth your time.
I'm not getting the audio there, Julie.
Yeah, so I don't have control of it. I think it's Josh, perhaps, who's troubleshooting right now.
Here.
The Elgin County Strategic Plan will provide a shared purpose and common direction.
My apologies there. This the embedded sound isn't quite working. Or was that working the last time around? It's impossible to tell from my end.
Yeah, you were set there, Kel.
Okay. We're good there?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Elgin.
The video won't play with the sound working, so try that one more time.
County strategic plan will provide a shared purpose and common direction for county councilors and staff. It will allow us to envision what we want in our future and proactively define the steps required to get there. This plan will be revised and reassessed over the course of the next 2 years to ensure it's in alignment with changing priorities, legislation, and requirements. The plan is divided into 3 goals: serving Elgin, growing Elgin, and investing in Elgin, and is further broken down into tangible strategic priorities which will guide staff and council's actions for the remainder of this term of Elgin County Council.
As elected officials, our primary job is to serve you. That is why one of the 3 strategic goals we have set is to respond to community needs in a creative and sustainable way. To achieve this goal, we will focus on the alignment between your needs and the programs and services we deliver. We've already started this work. For example, we've embarked on a municipal service delivery review to obtain a detailed, evidence-based analysis of what we provide and how we provide it. We will use the results of this review to improve alignment and to also ensure that the delivery of our services is effective, reflects best practices, and avoids duplication. Ultimately, we're working towards streamlined processes that will give you the best customer service experience possible.
We are exploring different ways of addressing needs within our community. Collaboration with our 7 local municipal partners is crucial to ensure the success of Elgin County programs and services. We will work closely with our municipal partners to ensure that these needs are met through high-quality shared services that are delivered with consistency across the county in a manner that achieves economies of scale. The county will explore the role that it has to play in key local priority projects as identified by our municipal partners. There may be opportunities for the county to take the lead, be a supportive partner, or act as an advocate to senior levels of government. When we work together, we can accomplish a great deal.
In order to determine the needs of our community, we must build stakeholder trust through a continuous process of feedback and engagement. Through 2-way communication, the county will gather important information about programs and services, providing the opportunities to implement continual improvement based on real-time feedback. We strive to be open and transparent in all we do and are now utilizing live streaming and other relevant technologies to make county council and committee meetings more accessible to the public. It is our goal to provide regular, relevant, and timely communications through a variety of accessible channels.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the Elgin County Strategic Plan. One of our goals is to make sure that Elgin is the best place to live, work, and play. How we're going to do that is we want to facilitate growth by helping our citizens grow the economy, grow the residential areas, recognizing the diversity, the vibrancy, and the sustainability that's required. Some of the areas that we're going to be tackling are affordable housing, particularly for seniors, transit, and the internet. 2 of the major initiatives to get us there are Terrace Lodge, which is one of the Elgin County homes for seniors in Elmer. We're undertaking a full renovation or enlargement of that facility, and a $33 million project begins this year, and we expect to break ground before Christmas. The other part that is critical is addressing the need for fast, reliable internet services throughout the entire county. Internet is as important now as having safe water or hydro or being able to heat your home in the winter. All the businesses, agro-businesses, or particularly even individuals, as the pandemic has proven, need to be able to have fast, reliable internet, and we now have a dedicated team working on that. We want to make sure that Elgin remains the place to live, work, and play.
We are actively planning for and facilitating commercial, industrial, residential, and agriculture growth in Elgin County. We are committed to working with our municipal partners to identify serviceable industrial lands and opportunities to encourage development. We have hired a full-time planner to assist with residential development applications and refine and modernize land division committee processes. With the challenges presented by COVID-19 pandemic, this focus on economic recovery and sustainability will be more important than ever. We are actively evaluating our economic development programs and practices to ensure that they are meeting the needs of the local municipal partners and small business community.
Elgin County is in a unique Carolinian life zone, including the third largest Carolinian forest in Canada. It also has over 100 kilometers of Lake Erie shoreline and an abundance of fertile soil. The county should actively engage in the protection of the natural environment in order to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of our residents, as well as the preservation of our agricultural way of life. This means establishing an environmental committee and taking a look at our own practices as a county to reduce our environmental footprint as an organization. We will encourage safe and environmentally friendly recreation and transportation through the update of our master cycling plan and identify opportunities to create healthy roadside habitats. In partnership with the Town of Aylmer and the City of St. Thomas, the county is developing a community safety and well-being plan that will help us reimagine emergency response in our communities and create a framework for a holistic approach that takes into account both community safety and individual well-being.
As Deputy Warden, it has been a privilege to participate in the development and implementation of Elgin County's strategic plan. This plan is a living document that will position Elgin County for future generations. Council's priorities established through the strategic plan will help establish a resource allocation map for the upcoming years, set financial and operating targets, and align the senior leadership team with Council's strategic priorities. Making responsible financial decisions on behalf of our ratepayers and making prudent investments in critical infrastructure are key priorities of County Council. The county is further developing and actively implementing its asset management plan to extend the life cycle of critical infrastructure and enhance the quality of our facilities to ensure that they can be safely accessed by the public. We are also improving the safety of our roads and bridges, notably with the construction of a new bridge in Port Bruce and the rehabilitation of the historic King George VI lift bridge in Port Stanley.
We will embrace new technologies and innovative processes to streamline and enhance the delivery of services using programs and software that make municipal operations more efficient, more easily accessible, and user-friendly. We will achieve efficiencies by migrating any remaining paper-based processes to virtual platforms, freeing up time and resources to better serve our communities. We have created a budget committee to modernize the budget process and ensure increased transparency and accountability to our ratepayers.
As a council, it is our responsibility to ensure that municipal services and programs are delivered efficiently and effectively. We will consider the decisions that we make through a lens of fiscal responsibility and clearly communicate the reasoning behind these decisions to our residents. We'll explore opportunities to develop synergies, realize economies of scale through shared services with our local municipal partners and neighboring communities, as recommended in the Municipal Service Delivery Review. We'll also continue to investigate creative ways to leverage our assets for increased revenue generation. It is our goal to optimize the use of our resources to support an affordable, healthy, and engaged community.
Great. So we certainly appreciate and we celebrate the great working relationship that we have with the Town of Aylmer, as well as our 6 other local municipal partners and our neighbors at the City of St. Thomas. We are very pleased to report that Elgin County Council's initial investment of $527,000 in the SWIFT Network Broadband Initiative will soon translate into $6.1 million worth of fiber in the ground. And this is expected to, installation is expected to commence in 2021. So this is truly exciting for our community as well. And as mentioned in the strategic plan, we are working closely with the Town of Aylmer and the City of St. Thomas on a joint community safety and well-being plan. And this plan is intended to identify community risks and then figure out ways to work closely together with service agencies and with each other to come up with ways to address the risk, whether that be through social development, prevention, and general risk mitigation. So we're excited about that initiative, and even though the pandemic has slowed us down slightly, we're making great progress there. The county has focused on enhancing our communications internally with our constituent municipalities and with the community in general. And this effort is ongoing and will be ongoing for the foreseeable future. We're also pleased that the health recruitment partnership with the City of St. Thomas, and that's an initiative to target recruiting general physicians to our community. Council invests $57,000 in that initiative, and it's going very well. We do offer legal services on a cost recovery basis to all of our municipal partners. As well, we have economic development resources, accessibility resources, and of course, deliver emergency medical services both to the county, City of St. Thomas, property assessment, where we work together to have MTAG help recover some lost assessment. And then we're exceedingly proud of our libraries, museums, and archives in Elgin. And there are a lot of recommendations coming out of the service delivery review, as the warden indicated. So I suspect there'll be lots of opportunities to work even closer with the town of Elmer in the coming months and years. Next slide, please. So what's new and exciting? I mentioned the SWIFT network, and this will leave a great proportion of Elgin County underserved. And certainly the pandemic has highlighted the importance of broadband and connectivity for our area. So Elgin County Council, in response to this, they have established a connectivity committee. This committee is meeting every other week. They're working aggressively to gather information, and they're hoping to come up with a made in Elgin solution to our connectivity challenges. Elgin County Council consented to hiring a full-time planner. Since inception of our planning department, we've only ever had a part-time planner. So this is a big transition for us. As well, we'll be reviewing the land division committee. The budget committee has a focus on enhancing engagement with our residents and including them in the budget deliberation process. As well, just a general enhancement of accountability and transparency. So their work is ongoing. It seems like for the last 2 years or more, we've been talking about collapsed bridges. So we're excited that we're finally talking about building bridges. In Port Bruce, that bridge will be completed by the end of the year. King George Lift Bridge Rehabilitation Project will be completed in the spring, and the temporary bridge from Port Bruce will be relocated to the Meeks Bridge in Southold, and the EA is already underway for that project. Terrace Lodge redevelopment and the kickoff of the fundraising committee will take place soon and before the end of the year. So we're very excited. This is one of the most significant capital projects that Council has undertaken in many, many years. We also have an environmental advisory committee, and they have just recently established some priorities, which they have to translate into actionable items. Next slide, please. So for the first time in our corporate history, Elgin County had the unique opportunity of undertaking a municipal service delivery review. And this is a review of our corporate structure and all of the programs and services that we undertake at the county level. The project really focused in on 3 key areas. The first one was reviewing and improving the county's human and community services with a specific focus on long-term care. This is an area where we know that we augment the service by an additional $5.3 million a year. So it's critically important that we had an outsider's perspective on ways that we could achieve some savings and perhaps realize some efficiencies through that service. As well, the consultants were tasked with examining and improving the county's internal operations and reviewing, improving, and potentially expanding upon the municipal shared services that we have with our partner municipalities and with the City of St. Thomas.
Check your wireless voice message, press 1. To send a voice message, press 3. To
In terms of the current state of the county, the consultants identified that the county has strong, forward-thinking, nimble leadership, and that we have the desire to implement strategic change. So the time is right to take on some transformational change opportunities. They noted that governance and communication enhancements can improve the county's management of contracts, and this would be shared services contracts as well as some other large ticket items and contracts that we have, including the contract with Medavie for emergency medical services. The consultants also noted that while the county celebrates its long-term care homes, now is the right time to address some short-term operational issues and some long-term strategic issues associated with that service. They also noted that the time is right to embrace the increased use of modern technologies, something that we've all been transitioning to over the course of the pandemic, as well as some digital tools to improve our processes and realize efficiencies. They did note that when we're compared to some of our municipal comparators, our financial state is solid, and we have similar operating and capital expenditures per capita and significantly lower long-term debt, which is good news. In terms of shared service opportunities, we certainly appreciate Jenny and Council's feedback on some of these issues. The consultants noted that consideration should be given to some shared services such as IT, planning, collaborative purchasing, human resources, and engineering advice. They also noted that the opportunity exists and also that it's of paramount importance that we rework the governance and administration of our existing shared services. And that's to make sure that the needs of everyone who's included are being met, and ensuring we have this successful framework will position us for expanded shared services in the future. Next slide, please. In terms of county and city opportunities, they noted that we could develop a joint economic development board with the City of St. Thomas. They also suggested that after a period of time and as a longer term solution, we could explore some shared service opportunities with respect to our IT department. And they noted that our two library systems have a strong history of collaboration, and they suggested that we look into some joint procurement initiatives as well as some ways of working closely together to save money to address some population growth that's happening out in the Southwold area. So perhaps exploring whether it's possible to have a joint branch. And they've suggested that working closely with our neighbors at the city might help reduce costs and improve services for our library patrons. They identified a number of opportunities to redesign how we're working together. So they suggest that before we even move into any new shared services, we take a step back and we spend some time reworking the design principles that we have in place, making sure that all parties are satisfied. It was very clear in the consultant's report that both council and local municipal partners want to improve our working relationship, and all parties agreed that policies that balance responsibilities on both sides are needed. So it's not, too heavy in Elgin County's interests. It has to be balanced in order for all parties to be happy. Next slide, please. The consultants also recommend that the policies governing the road maintenance agreement need to be updated. As well, the funding arrangement needs an independent review. And this is something that we've heard over the past, I'd say, year and a half. So it wasn't surprising that this came up through the service delivery review. And the detailed recommendations are included in this slide, as well as the full report, which is on the county's website. I know we've taken up a bunch of your time already, so I'll skip past this one and move on to collaborative purchasing. They've suggested that there's an opportunity to work together on planning, perhaps offer some registered planning support to interested local municipal partners. And the next slide, please. Collaborative purchasing, they've offered 2 recommendations here. One is that the county could hire a procurement specialist, and we could, as we do with legal services, offer that service out on a cost recovery basis or an hourly rate. And the second option is that there would be a yearly contribution from interested municipal partners. Next slide, please. Similarly, they recommend that human resources is an area where a formalized shared services agreement could be established with interested local municipal partners. Not all of our municipalities are large enough to have dedicated professional human resources support. And this is certainly an area when it's combined with health and safety and accessibility and a whole bunch of other legislative requirements, it's becoming a higher risk area for our municipal partners. So there may be an opportunity to share some services there. Next slide, please. And there are another 2 potential shared services. The first is that we could expand our IT offerings beyond Central Elgin and Bayham to include other interested municipal partners. And similarly, some of our smaller local municipal partners who don't have a professional engineer on staff may wish to have a formalized arrangement with the county for some professional engineering advice. Next slide, please. So next steps, as you can imagine, this has been a big undertaking for the county. So Elgin County Council just received the preliminary report, or the final report rather, from the consultants at its last meeting on November the 10th. They directed this back to staff and suggested that we come back on November 24th with some preliminary recommendations about how these might be prioritized and which initiatives are currently underway, and provide a little bit more context to some others. So we expect another report coming on November 24th, and then Council will take some time, I think, to decide which recommendations to prioritize. And I think this will form a big part of their 2021 action planning, which will take place very early in 2021, in January. And then for the foreseeable future, we see that some of the recommendations will be implemented, some immediately and some over the long haul. So we are very excited about this process. And while we know that it comes with a lot of heavy lifting, it's going to be worth it for our community. And especially if we're able to find some better ways of delivering our services and some ways to save our ratepayers some money. So with that, the warden and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Julie and Dave. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Charlton?
Through your worship to Dave Metal, I've been asked several times if the last vehicle on the Port Bruce Bridge will be the first vehicle to go over the new bridge. I just wondered if you'd arranged that yet.
The bridge is slated to be open in December. We haven't got any details about going over the bridge. I would love to break the ribbon with a 55 Thunderbird, but we're not there yet.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions, concerns? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Julie and Dave, for coming this evening and explaining everything to our council. And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, Josh, a resolution, please.
That council receives the County of Elgin update and service delivery review overview for information.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Oslach. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is adoption of council and committee minutes. Minutes to approve.
That council approves the following minutes. Special virtual council session held on November 2nd, 2020, and regular virtual council session held on November 2nd, 2020.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Ham and Councillor Charlton. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And the next item up is minutes to receive.
That council receives the following minutes. Police Services Board held on October 13th, October 22nd, and October 29th, 2020.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Barber. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Ham?
Just as through you, Your Worship, I was looking over it and it said for the Freedom March, it said Sunday the rally had been. I believe it was Saturday, right? Just a question.
Yes, I believe it was on a Saturday. You're right.
It just said Sunday on there. Can
anybody clarify that for me? I'm not sure. Josh?
Through your worship, it's I believe that it has been highlighted there by Kale on the notes, if that's what we're referring to.
Yeah, I believe that's, yeah, okay.
So just a clerical error that we can ensure that that's amended for long-term retention of minutes.
Okay. Is that okay with you then, Councillor Ham? Do you have any other questions? Okay. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is the consent agenda, items A to J.
That items A to J of the November 16th, 2020 consent agenda be adopted as presented with actions to be taken as noted.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Charlton. Are there any questions or comments concerning the consent agenda? Councillor Charlton? There you go.
Yeah, through your worship, I was just wondering if there's a certain level of COVID infection that we need to get down to or up to before we can put that second sheet of ice in the arena, or not put it in?
I may have to turn that over to Jenny. I'm not sure about the answer to that one. Jenny, do you mind answering that question, please?
Yeah, certainly. Through you, Your Worship. At the previous meeting, we identified with council, we provided council a recommendation to extend the hours for the remainder of this year, with the thought that should all the conditions remain the same, our goal was to have the second pad of ice installed by mid-January. Now, the Township of Malahide also received that report, and you see on the consent, the resolution that was passed by the Township in relation to that. Since that time, we have had new developments this week where we have moved into a yellow zone, if you will. Exactly what that will do to our programming at the complex is unknown at this time. I have reached out to Southwest Public Health today with some operational changes that I think are in line with the yellow coded plan, if you will, and I'm awaiting response back from them. Once we receive that, we will bring a report back to council, both councils, in relation to what those change programmings will look like.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Does that answer your question, Councillor Charlton?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments concerning the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The next item up is action item. It's report Corp 5120.
That report, Corp 5120, entitled Official Plan 5-Year Review Virtual Open House, be received for information.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Deputy Mayor Andrews and Councillor Charlton. Before I ask for questions and comments, I'm going to ask Cale if he has something he'd like to do an overview or more information that he'd like to share before I open it up for questions.
Through your worship, just an advertisement, I think, is all I'd wish to add to that. It is a virtual open house for the OP 5-year review amendment that is on the website. I encourage people to take a look at it and understand some of the issues that are being addressed by this 5-year review. It's not a brand new official plan. It's just amending our existing one to fit with the current legislation. And encourage everyone to take a look and provide their feedback prior to it coming to council on December the 7th.
Okay, thank you, Cale. Are there any questions or comments from council pertaining to this? Councillor Charlton?
Through your worship, in part of that report entitled Infrastructure, talks about servicing and stormwater and waste management. I just wondered, are we in pretty good shape as far as growth is concerned, as far as our waste management goes? Are our lagoons going to handle the development in Cottonwood without any issues, or how are we off that way?
Through your worship, with regards to the OP, it's referring to the guiding document that says you'll plan accordingly. And those projects would be separately addressed through the budget process and through our strategic priorities out of both the operations department and the planning department. So I wouldn't say that we're really addressing that issue here. The town of Elmer will always, at least staff will always recommend that council plan accordingly for our growth. And certainly we do our best to accommodate that. But it's difficult to say exactly what capacity that we would have because you don't know exactly what's going to be built. We think it's going to be around 300 units, and that was set aside back when the plan of subdivision was approved. So certainly it would be always something we're keeping an eye on as we grow as a community, but this isn't really the aim of this official plan document. It's just saying rather that you'll continue to plan for the future as you need to.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next item up is new business and matters of urgency. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to reading of bylaws.
That council consider giving third and final reading to bylaw 4920, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 718, referred to as a procedural bylaw, and bylaw 5020, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a development agreement between Home Hardware Stores Limited and the Corporation of the Town of Elmer for the development of lands located at 45 Progress Drive in the Town of Elmer.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Barber and Councillor Oslach. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item up is inquiries of members. Councillor Oslach. You're on mute, Councillor Oslach.
I don't have an inquiry at this time.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I seen your hand up. I apologize. Are there any other inquiries? Councillor Charlton.
Through your worship, I see all the decorations and lights are up in the downtown parks. And just wanted to make mention that the volunteers did another great job this year, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Charlton. Any further inquiries? Okay, the next item up is statements and committee reports. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Worship. First of all, I would like to thank the folks that stood on Talbot Street on Remembrance Day to show their respect for veterans. In over 50 years, I have not missed a service and did so at this time after repeated requests from the Legion to do so. Both my dad and father-in-law served during the Second World War.
My wife's dad's plane was shot down over the English Channel during a mission. He was the sole survivor of the crew. Freedom is not easy and does not come cheaply. It must be earned and cherished. One must wonder how sincere the freedom marchers were. Would they be the first out of their foxhole and yell charge as they confront an unseen enemy? Or would they be the first to get in the chow line? To disrespect the Canadian flag is disgusting. If Canada does not meet your expectations, perhaps a change in habitat is worth considering. And on leadership, being a true leader can at times be very lonely at the top. It takes real courage to make decisions that may be second-guessed by others at a later date. Fire service incident commanders may be scrutinized if the decision to perform a rescue should have been a recovery or vice versa, or an offensive attack should be a defensive stand. Police officers have to balance alleged violations of the law while at the same time being well aware that any action taken will be checked and double-checked by the system. We, the people, have to ensure fairness and the law. Mayors, or the designate, have the sole authority to declare or end a municipal emergency. Declaration of emergency during a severe weather event are much easier to justify than an event whose outcome is very uncertain. To not do something is easy. To act takes courage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barber. Councillor Oslach?
Yes, our Remembrance Day ceremony was a private event and by invitation only. And basically, it will. We filmed it, both Springfield and Elmer, and it will be on the town website for all citizens to view, Malahide and Elmer, in the future. So go to the town website and you'll be able to see both ceremonies in full. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Oslach, and thank you for that clarification, because a lot of people are concerned that the members of council weren't there, but we actually respected the Legion's request to not attend because we were opening up spaces for veterans and other Legion members. So thank you, Councillor Oslach, for clarifying that, and we appreciate that all the members that were able to go, the veterans and the Legion members. Okay, we'll move on to the report of the mayor. And it's in conjunction with something that Councillor Barber just brought up. And it's a clarification about declarations of state of emergency. And also there was a bit of, I guess, controversy over the fact that we decided to close the East Elgin Community Complex on November the 7th. And I've prepared a statement to share with you so that everyone understands, our citizens, our council, and anyone else that's interested. With the media attention that Aylmer has received lately, I wanted to take this opportunity to clarify a question that I am being asked on a regular basis. All COVID-19 related decisions at the town are made collaboratively by the Emergency Operation Control Group. The Emergency Operation Control Group is comprised of various staff members and myself. The composition, scope, and operating procedures of this group are identified in the town's Emergency Response Plan, which is a mandatory document that the town must keep updated for these types of events. In this group, my role is the same as it is at council, in that I am one of many voices at the table. More specifically, actions of the town in response to COVID-19 are never undertaken specifically at my request, but instead are the result of collaborative decision-making processes. If any members of council or viewers have questions regarding the decision-making processes of the Emergency Operation Control Group, I encourage you to reach out to the CAO or the Director of Emergency Services for more information. Finally, I would like to thank the community, council, and staff for the ongoing support that has been received in relation to recent events. We will get through this together. And that's the end of my report. Are there any notice of motion this evening? Okay, seeing none, we have a resolution for meeting closed to the public.
That council moves into a meeting closed to the public at 7:48 p.m. for the purpose of considering personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal, local board employees.
Okay, someone to move and someone to second. Councillor Chapman and Councillor Charlton, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. And we'll just take a couple minutes before we move into closed.
This conference is no longer being recorded.